Inside the cafeteria at Columbine High School, students were having lunch, talking with friends, moving through the food line. Nothing out of the ordinary. But beneath two cafeteria tables sat something waiting to destroy all of it. Two duffel bags, each one packed with propane tanks, fuel, timers, and pipe bombs. At exactly 11:17 a.m., those bags were supposed to detonate, killing hundreds of students in an instant. Survivors would have been driven outside, right into the crosshairs of two young men waiting at the west entrance with guns. It was a plan designed for maximum devastation, but in reality, the bombs sat silently, the fuses failed. Hundreds of students ate their lunches, blissfully unaware of the carnage that had been meant for them. But patience was not part of the plan. At 11:19 a.m., just 2 minutes after the bombs failed to detonate, the sound of gunfire cracked through the spring air outside the school. The massacre had begun.
The big question tonight, why?
He shot everybody around me.
Found about 12 pipe bombs.
We do have some fatalities.
2 kids are believed to have killed and wounded about 50 of their classmates, and then killed themselves.
Columbine High School sat in the quiet suburb of Littleton, Colorado. Nearly 2,000 students walked its halls every day, preparing for finals and graduation. To the outside world, it was a typical American high school. Classrooms full, teachers moving through their lessons, the cafeteria filled for an early lunch. Nothing stood out, nothing to suggest what was coming. But 2 seniors, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, had become inseparable friends. Outwardly, they weren't all that different from their classmates. Eric worked at a local pizza shop and had even looked into joining the Marines. Dylan was taller, quieter, awkward, but he found a role with the school's tech crew, running lights and sound during plays. To most, they were just 2 kids heading toward graduation. But below the surface, the story was very different. Teachers and friends had seen warning signs. A year earlier, Dylan turned in a disturbing essay for his creative writing class. It read more like a confession than fiction, describing violent killings in detail. His teacher flagged it, but the concern went no further. Around the same time, Eric was using his personal website to post long rants about everything he hated. Pages of venom aimed at classmates, strangers, and the world at large. He even threatened to kill a former friend, Brooks Brown. Police were notified. They had enough for a search warrant of his home, but it was never executed. The journals told an even darker story. Harris fantasized about wiping out the human race, referencing Adolf Hitler and grand schemes of destruction. Klebold's writing revealed crushing depression, thoughts of suicide, and a longing to disappear. Together, their anger and despair fused into a plan for violence. They sketched weapon designs, outlined to-do lists, and even produced videos for class projects where they filmed themselves in trench coats, running through mock scenarios of killing classmates. By early 1999, they were stockpiling guns and ammunition. A friend, Robin Anderson, helped them acquire weapons at a gun show, and another contact, Mark Maines, sold them ammunition just a day before the attack. In their journals, they spoke of wanting to outdo the Oklahoma City bombing of 1995. They wrote that guns were just for fun. The real goal was mass destruction through explosives. They chose their date with precision, April 20th, Adolf Hitler's birthday. For Harris especially, symbolism mattered. On that morning, they skipped their first classes. It wasn't unusual. Seniors often came and went as they pleased. While teachers carried on with their lessons, Harris and Klebold loaded their weapons and packed the duffel bags. They wore trench coats to hide their arsenal. To the rest of Columbine High School, it was just another Tuesday. Eric Harris pulls his Honda into the junior parking lot. He sits there waiting for about 10 minutes. And then, Harris gets out of his car and walks past the cafeteria, climbing the stairs toward the school's west entrance. At almost the same moment, Dylan Klebold drives into the senior lot in his BMW. Instead of going to class, he heads inside the cafeteria, blending in with the students as he lingers near the vending machines. After only a few minutes, both Harris and Klebold turn back. They return to their vehicles, open the trunks, and pull out heavy duffel bags filled with explosives and ammunition. Now they're no longer blending in. They're ready. The two regroup at the top of the west stairs. Harris drops his long, black trench coat to the ground, raises his weapon, and fires the first shots. In an instant, Rachel Scott is killed, and her friend, Richard Castaldo, is struck multiple times, critically injured. Gunfire rains down the steps. 3 more students are all hit as they try to escape. While Harris continues firing from above, Klebold walks down the stairs. He shoots them again, then executes one of them at close range. Stepping over the wounded graves, he pushes briefly into the cafeteria, but just as quickly returns outside to join Harris. Now moving toward the west doors, Harris fires again. Glass shatters across the entrance, injuring students who stumble inside bleeding. Seconds later, Harris and Klebold push through the broken entrance themselves. After several minutes of chaos outside, the attack is now moving inside the school. The 2 gunmen push through the shattered glass doors. One turns back and fires at the school's officer outside. The officer fires back. No one is hit. Inside, the sound of gunfire echoes through the hallways. A teacher runs into the library, grabs a phone, and dials 911. A wounded student stumbles down the hall, leaving a trail of blood. One gunman fires down the corridor. Lockers explode with sparks and dents. The other aims toward the library doors, laughing as he shoots. Students sprint for the exits. One is shot but keeps running. A teacher guiding students to safety is hit in the chest. He collapses. Crawling, he drags himself into a classroom. Other teachers pull him inside and slam the door. The shooters keep moving deeper into the school. The wounded teacher is hidden away while gunfire cracks outside the library. One gunman throws a small explosive down the hallway. It detonates, filling the air with smoke. Both approach the library doors and step inside. More than 50 students and staff are hiding under tables and behind counters. A shotgun blast shatters wood from the copier stand. A student hiding there is injured. Another student at a computer is shot and killed instantly. The shooters drop heavy bags full of bombs on the floor. They never go off. One kneels by the windows and fires at police cars outside. Glass sprays into the room. The other turns toward the tables. He fires under them. Screams erupt. Explosives roll across the floor, hissing and smoking. The gunmen move table to table. At one table, 2 students are shot. At another, a victim is pulled out and executed. Some students are mocked, a few are spared, but most are not. In less than 7 minutes, 10 are dead, 11 more are wounded. Before leaving, one smashes a chair onto a computer, splintering it above a teacher hiding underneath. Then, they walk out. They move into the science area. An explosive is tossed into a storage room. It ignites, flames rising. A teacher rushes in with a fire extinguisher and puts it out. The shooters fire into a classroom window. Students crouch low, unhurt. They walk into the cafeteria. One aims at a propane bomb hidden under the tables and fires. Nothing happens. They grab drinks from the counter casually. Another small device is thrown. It pops and smokes. They head upstairs. Seconds later, a partial explosion rattles the room. The path winds into the administrative offices. Shots blast into ceilings and walls. Paper flies. Alarms wail. They drift through the art rooms, firing randomly. No one is hit. Back to the cafeteria, into the kitchen, then upstairs again. Their movements now seem aimless. They re-enter the library. At the windows, they fire at police and rescuers outside. Bullets shatter glass. Officers duck behind cars. No one is struck. The 2 sit down side by side among the tables and bodies. They raise their weapons to their own heads. One pulls a shotgun trigger. The other fires a handgun. Both collapse instantly. 45 minutes after it began, the attack is over. 13 are dead. More than 20 are wounded.
Multiple gunshot wounds. One girl suffered 9 wounds to the chest. Student survivors were loaded on buses.
When the school shooting ended, police and SWAT teams secured the school. Survivors were led out in lines with their hands above their heads. Some were injured, many were in shock. Outside, parents waited in fear, desperate for news. The death toll was confirmed: 12 students and 1 teacher. Dozens more were wounded. The images spread nationwide. Columbine was no longer just a school. It became a symbol of violence, trauma, and survival. For the survivors, life moved forward, but never without the weight of that day. Anne-Marie Hochhalter was left paralyzed at 17, yet later chose to forgive the mother of one of the shooters. Craig Scott, who lost his sister Rachel, dedicated his life to speaking out. Principal Frank DeAngelis stayed at Columbine until every student who had been there in 1999 graduated. The community reached out to others. After the Aurora Theater shooting, survivors helped form the Rebels Project, offering support to victims of mass shootings across the country. Virginia Tech, Sandy Hook, Parkland. Each new tragedy brought back the memory of Columbine. Even decades later, the pain remained. Anniversaries reopened wounds. Survivors carried trauma that never faded. On April 20th, 2024, the 25th anniversary was marked with memorials and moments of silence. A year later, in 2025, Anne-Marie Hochhalter died from complications of her injury. Her death was ruled a homicide, the 14th victim of Columbine. The massacre lasted 45 minutes, but for survivors, families, and a nation forever changed, it never truly ended. Columbine was not the first school shooting, but it became the template, and its echoes still remain.